Right now, if someone you love dies, there's a process. A call gets made, a body gets moved. There are rules. But 100,000 years ago, there was no funeral home, no priest, no rule book. So when a caveman looked down at his dead friend for the first time in human history, what did he actually do? Turns out the answer is stranger, more emotional, and honestly more disturbing than you'd expect. And by the end of this video, you're going to think about death completely differently. Let's go back. Like, really back. Over 100,000 years to a cave in modern-day Israel called Coffins. Archaeologists digging there found something that shouldn't have existed that early. A human skeleton, curled up on its side, with deer antlers placed deliberately in its hands. Deliberately, not randomly scattered, placed. That single detail changes everything. It means somebody looked at a dead body and decided it needed something, a gift, a tool for wherever it was going next. That's not an animal instinct. That's the first evidence of something no other species on Earth does. Believing death isn't the end of the story. And it gets weirder. In Shanidar Cave in Iraq, Neanderthal remains were found surrounded by clusters of ancient pollen, leading scientists to a wild theory that's still debated today, that Neanderthals may have buried their dead with flowers. Neanderthals, the species we used to call brutish, stupid, subhuman, grieving with flowers 60,000 years before anyone invented a grave marker. But here's where it gets dark. Because not every ancient culture buried their dead out of love. I need you to sit with this one for a second because it's going to sound insane, but it's real. Some ancient, and even not-so-ancient cultures practice something called endocannibalism, eating the flesh of their own dead, not out of hunger, out of love. The idea was simple and honestly kind of beautiful if you strip away the horror. If you eat someone you loved, their strength, their spirit, their memory, it doesn't leave. It stays inside the tribe, inside you. Some groups would even grind the bones of the dead into a paste and drink it, believing it was the final act of a proper goodbye. Meanwhile, in other ancient societies, the opposite fear took hold. Not how do we keep them with us, but how do we make sure they don't come back? Because a huge number of prehistoric burials weren't gentle, skeletons have been found with heavy stones placed directly on top of the chest, the head, or the limbs, not decoration, not by accident. Archaeologists believe some of these were deliberately weighed down, a prehistoric attempt to physically pin the dead into the ground. Which raises an uncomfortable question: what were they so afraid of? If a video like this deserves a part 2 on ancient ghost beliefs, smash that subscribe button now because that one's coming. Here's something almost nobody knows. In a lot of early human cultures, burial wasn't a one-time event. It's called secondary burial, and the process went like this. A body would be left out in the open or buried temporarily until the flesh decomposed. Then, months or even years later, the community would come back, dig up the bones, clean them, and rebury them somewhere else. Sometimes painted head to toe in a deep red mineral called ochre. Why red? Because red looks like blood, and blood means life. Painting the bones red wasn't decoration. Many archaeologists believe it was an attempt to symbolically bring the dead back to life, even for just a moment, one final time, before letting them go for good. Entire families and tribes have been found buried together this way, generations deep, all stained the same blood-red color. Which means for early humans, death wasn't a single moment. It was a process, one that could take years to finish. Now here's the part that should genuinely mess with your head a little. Every single ritual we just talked about, the flowers, the red ochre, the stones on the chest, even the cannibalism, they all share one thing in common. None of it was necessary for survival. A group of early humans burning calories and risking their lives to dig graves, carry flowers, and paint bones gained nothing in terms of food, safety, or reproduction. Evolution doesn't usually keep things around that don't help you survive, which means somewhere, in some cave, tens of thousands of years before writing, before agriculture, before civilization itself, the idea that a person's death deserved meaning became more important than efficiency. That might be the actual moment we became human. Not tools, not fire. Grief? So the next time you go to a funeral and it feels like just another modern tradition, remember it isn't modern at all. You're doing something a caveman did in a dark cave 100,000 years ago, by candlelight made of animal fat, grieving someone he loved in the only way he knew how. Some things never change.
If this made you look at death a little differently, hit subscribe, because next up, I'm covering what ancient humans believed happened after the body was buried, the world's very first ghost stories. You do not want to miss that one.